Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about how we can write some transformed exponential functions. So we're going to look at about 5 examples here today. We will go ahead and get started on number 1. It says f of x equals 3 to the x power. We want to do 2 things to it. Number 1, we're going to reflect in the x-axis, and we're going to translate 2 units to the left. So I always like to start off by just rewriting what f of x is equal to. So f of x equals 3 to the x. And let's perform one transformation at a time. So we're going to reflect in the x-axis. So let's say h of x would be equal to, now reflecting the x-axis means we're going to make y opposite. So the opposite of f of x. So what would that give us? That would mean h of x, or our function after just reflecting, would be h of x equals negative 3 to the x. Now we're going to translate 2 units to the left. So we'll call this g of x, and we're going to take h, and instead of h of x, we're going to go 2 units to the left, so we're going to add 2 to our x. Okay, so the h of x plus 2. All right, so now that gives us g of x is equal to, and we have negative 3 to the x plus 2. All right, and that would be our transformed function, exponential function for number 1. All right, number 2, we have f of x equals 7 to the x. We're going to translate 3 units down and then reflect in the y-axis. So let's start off and let's say f of x equals 7 to the x. Translate 3 units down. So let's go with h of x is equal to the f of x minus 3. All right, so that tells us that h of x would be 7 to the x power and then minus 3. Now we're going to reflect in the y-axis. There we go. That s got deleted. So let's go g of x is equal to, and we're going to reflect in the y-axis, so we're going to make x opposite. So let's say this is going to be the h of negative x. So we get g of x for our final function would be 7 to the negative x power minus 3. Okay. All right, number 3, f of x equals 3/4 to the x power. We're going to reflect in the x-axis, vertical stretch by a factor of 8, and translate 6 units to the left. So we're doing 3 things here. So let's say f of x is equal to, we know that's 3/4 to the x power. So reflect in the x-axis, so let's go with h of x is equal to, reflect in the x-axis, we're going to make y opposite, so the opposite of f of x. So we get h of x is equal to, and this is just the opposite of 3/4 to the x power. Now vertical stretch by a factor of 8, so let's go with t of x, and let's say we're going to go 8 times the h of x. Okay, that's how we would write that for a vertical stretch. All right, so now we're going to say t of x is equal to 8 times negative 3/4 to the x. Now we can simplify this and say t of x is equal to negative 8 times 3/4 to the x power. All right, and now the last thing we need to do is translate 6 units to the left. And so let's go with g of x now. Say g of x is equal to 6 units to the left, so t of x plus 6. Okay, so that's going to give us g of x is equal to negative 8 times 3/4 to the x plus 6. Okay. All right, number 4, f of x equals e to the x when a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/4 followed by a translation 8 units up. So we have our f of x function here of e to the x power. Horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/4. So once we look at this, it's actually going to look like the f of 4x, right? Remember, horizontal is kind of opposite of what it looks like. So we got that shrink by a factor of 1/4. It initially in the equation should look like f of 4x. So now we can proceed and say that the h of x would be equal to e to the 4x power. Now we're going to translate 8 units up. So we're going to say g of x is equal to the h of x plus 8. And that would give us our final equation of g of x equals e to the 4x plus 8. All right, in our last example here, we're going to go with f of x is equal to e to the negative x. We're going to translate 2 units right, 8 units down, followed by a vertical shrink by a factor of 1/4. So let's write f of x is equal to e to the negative x. And we can actually do this translations in one step here. So let's go with h of x is equal to, and we're going to go 2 units right. So this would be the f of x minus 2, and 8 down, so minus 8. All right, so now that's going to give us h of x is equal to e to the negative, and this is going to be x minus 2, and then minus 8. Now let's simplify this. Let's distribute that negative, so e to the negative x plus 2 minus 8. All right, so now we're going to vertical shrink by a factor of 1/4. So let's go with g of x is equal to 1/4 times the h of x. Okay, so now g of x is equal to, and this is going to be 1/4 times e to the negative x plus 2. But we need to multiply this 1/4 by the negative 8 as well, so that'd be minus 2 at the end, because that's essentially 8 divided by 4, so minus 2. All right, and that is how we can write some transformations of exponential functions.